Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to my channel. Do you know that there are countries where it's forbidden by law to neglect your children? If a mother neglects her children below the age of 2, I believe it was Singapore or Malaysia, I don't know exactly which one of the two. If it happens that a mother neglects a small child, she could face years in prison. And the people around, relatives that permitted it, can also face consequences. Why? If a human being at such an age is neglected, it can have lifelong bad consequences, and the community will have to face those consequences. So anyone that contributes to the neglect of a child, of a young child, is punished. Now, I'm not saying that it always happens that people that neglect children are prosecuted in those countries, because the government has limited capacities. They can't prosecute everyone. But it's known in some countries, if you neglect a child as a parent or as a relative, you are in big trouble. If the government doesn't come after you, the community will come after you. Why? Because it's important to provide the necessities for those around you. Okay, let me go to what I'm trying to teach you here. Well, teach you something I want to alert you of. If there is knowledge that someone withholds from you, it doesn't have to be something wrong. It can be that there are people talking bad behind your back and someone withholds you from that information. That can be a good thing. Then you're not affected by it. Okay? So just because someone withholds information from you doesn't mean they intend harm towards you. Again, if a teacher is giving a test, he needs to withhold the answers. Or else you're not trained as a student. So just because someone withholds information doesn't mean they intend any harm. It can also be that someone doesn't know how to deliver the information, so they shut up so that they don't cause any trouble. That can also be the case, but listen to what I'm saying here. There is knowledge, there is information you surely need for your survival, especially spiritual knowledge. And if you have people who have this knowledge, but for some political or financial reason, they refuse to hand you this information, which is necessary for your survival and survival of your family or survival of the people around you, that is a crime. But also delivering knowledge in a corrupt manner that will cause someone to head into a direction that's not right is also a crime. And that is what false pastors and false teachers are doing. That is what wolves in sheep's clothing are doing. They provide you information that contains true facts, but they place the information in a context that's not right. And this context is suggested onto you. It's not something that's said in plain. Because if the context that they are enforcing on you would be told in plain, you would think, hold on a minute, this is wrong. For example, it can be that someone, just a very extreme example, can be that some extreme feminist is talking bad about men. And she points out various defects of the men in the society you live in. Let's say you're a young woman and you hear all of this and you observe the facts. So you may think, oh, this feminist is telling the truth. But the context she's talking it in is the context of hating men and rejecting men as a marriage partner. So what is she really promoting here? Lesbianism in disguise. But if she would come out and say this in plain, you as a young woman would think, hold on a minute, I'm not into this. Get away. But because the deception is in a package of true facts, but the context is hidden because context is suggested onto you, that's why you're lured into it. So information is provided onto you, but not with the right intention. That is how con men operate. That is how wolves in sheep clothing do. And that is how many churches do also. I mean, it's easy to talk about deception and traps when it comes to worldly things, when it comes to religion, when it comes to criminality, when it comes to politics and the corporate world and all of that. But when it comes to the so-called body of Christ, I don't even want to call it that way, people tend to be blind to what's going on. Look, the same wolves in sheep's clothing that are going around in the corporate world, in the media, in the political arena, in the medical world, you have wolves in sheep's clothing everywhere. Those same wolves in sheep's clothing also put on a Christian mask. They even pretend to be pastors, even start YouTube channels, even start churches and big ministries, and they are deceiving the masses. But now they're deceiving the masses in the name of Christ with paranormal aid. And because most people who claim to follow Christ, I'm not saying that they're really following Christ, but most people that claim to follow Christ have no discernment whatsoever in discerning the paranormal from the supernatural. They are deceived. That is what's going on. I mean, seriously. I've mentioned this before about violence. One of the main things that haunts believers, one of the main things every human being needs to be delivered from, one of the main things that's necessary for safety, and safety is very important. But many of those churches can't tell you it's a demonic power that's behind it. They can't tell you that. Why? Because they're operating in agreement with that same demonic power. You can't expect someone that's demon possessed to cast out a demon for someone else. That's not going to work. Listen to what I'm saying here. If you have been conned either by disinformation or by real necessary information being withheld from you, you have been sold out. Why? Because you cannot make sound decisions based on wrong information. And how can you make sound decisions if you don't know what the right information is? Of course you have responsibility. Of course you can notice something's wrong and look for answers. But still, you are not absolutely responsible. You can't be. Because you don't know that. You don't know everything. You can't do everything. So stop blaming yourself for everything. Okay? Here is one thing I want to remind you. Oh, I already said it, but I need to say it. If you have been misled by misinformation, say disinformation, or by true information being withheld from you, you have been sold out. Yes, you have. Just like Joseph's brothers wanted to kill him, but instead sold him to the Ishmaelites. They sold him into slavery. In the same way, we have been sold into slavery. Because this is a world of deception we live in. Your slavery is not the same type of slavery that Joseph had, a physical one, in which he had to work and at the expense of himself. Your slavery may be that you are now in cursed relationships. You can't have a stable marriage. Because anytime you as a woman, you meet a man, you tend to meet the man that tends to treat you dirty. Or maybe as a man, you don't know how to relate well to the opposite sex. Why? Because you grew up in a society that had dysfunctional views of men, and they had expectations of men that didn't add up. But yet these defect expectations are what people in your society expect of you as a man. But at the same time, society marvels when the man dysfunction, while in society itself it enforces these wrong expectations on the men. So you have been sold out. Yes, you have. It can be that everywhere you are, there are people who want to do you dirty. Why? Because you have a spirit of victimization on you, which is a spirit of violence that's been enforced on you by the neglect, emotional neglect you suffered while you were growing up. Now, the people around you now are responsible for giving in to the negative energy, but still, your relatives sold you out. Or it can be that you have a job, that means you have an income, you have your own place, and you have some friends you hang out with, so everything appears fine with you. But you're not truly living. You are surviving. You're remaining in existence. But you're not truly living. Because you don't know how to get things done. Because those skills were never taught onto you. You were only told how to get a job and maintain a job by pleasing others. You never learned how to live your dreams. Especially not living your dreams in a Christ-centered manner. You were never told that, so you have been sold into slavery. And that is how the kings and rulers of this world operate, by selling out their own population. They worship the beast That's Apollo, they worship those unclean spirits, and assist those unclean spirits, they sell out their own population to those demons. And the population itself, who are the relief seekers, they don't want to see this. They are in denial, so they are enforcing their own bondage. And anyone that wants to escape that bondage, they turn on that individual. Why? Because the population is a collection of cowards. That's why. So, realize this. Don't be terrified of it. And don't worry. Vengeance is mine, said the Lord will repay. Nobody is getting away with agreeing against Christ. Nobody. For you, keep agreeing with Christ and keep on going. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but keep on going. Agree with Christ and be at peace.